Being a new mom is such a big change for any entrepreneur woman. So, how do you balance starting your own business, being a home based business owner, and a new mom? Our guest today has pulled that off inside of a year, and I can't wait to have her share her tips and tricks and a little bit behind the scenes and the story of how she pulled that off. It's Melanie Benson here, America's leading small business optimizer, and you're here for Optimizer Secrets, which is a weekly podcast series all about the little changes that have profound impacts and allow you to grow your business, your impact, and your revenues exponentially. So let me share with you what I think is going to quickly be a stealth weapon behind many big leaders and entrepreneurs in our marketplace, and that is Jessica Rhodes. Jessica is the founder and president of ESS, Entrepreneur Support Services, a business providing various admin and marketing support services to busy entrepreneurs and small business owners. Now, Entrepreneur Support Services is a parent company to interviewconnections.com. I love anything that has connections in it because, you know, that's been my business name forever. It's a premier source for booking outstanding guests to your podcast. Now, Jessica is also highly skilled at social media marketing and specializes in using Pinterest and specially custom infographics to drive tons of traffic to her clients' websites. Jessica founded ESS so she could stay at home with her 5-month-old son, Nathan, who she often refers to as her vice president. You know, when you have a vice president who's really cranky and wants food or attention, you know, they really deserve to have that title. I would agree. So welcome, Jessica.
Hi, thanks for having me, Melanie.
Yeah. You know, and just on a personal note, I have been hearing about Jessica for years and years and years. She's the daughter of a really, really great friend of mine. And I kept hearing this story about Jessica, you know, getting married, Jessica getting pregnant, Jessica deciding she's going to have this great business, Jessica learning all this cool stuff. And I kept thinking, boy, this is the best marketing strategy ever because I keep hearing how amazing Jessica is. I have to meet her. And then I was so profoundly excited to learn what she's doing for entrepreneurs. But more importantly, Jessica, I think it's so extraordinary how you created this amazing monetizable gift, if you will, this great resource in such a short period of time that's allowed you to really balance it all. So, you know, maybe you could tell us in your own words a little bit behind the scenes of what made you decide to do it this way and to create this kind of a business.
Sure. So I decided to start my business so I could work at home with Nathan. And I got pregnant and decided to start a family before I had any idea what I was going to do when I had my baby. So I kind of laugh that I'm probably not the best example of the most planned out way to start a business. But for me, I needed that kick in the pants and I needed to, you know, not have that plan B and kind of like cut the rope, as they say. So I was forced into just taking action and making it happen. So it was around this time last year that I was like 5 or 6 months pregnant, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to figure out what I'm going to do because my husband doesn't make quite enough money to support, you know, all three of us. So my dad told me about virtual assistants, and I really had no idea what what a VA was. I thought it was a veterans hospital. Like, that's all I knew about VAs. So when he explained what they were and that they're business owners and, you know, all I could do in that industry, I decided to trust my gut and trust my dad and really just jump in feet first. And he was kind enough to take me on as one of his VAs. And so I've really been able to grow and learn a lot of different skills working with him. And really, so starting a business was really to stay at home with my baby. But since I've started, I found all these new reasons why I'm staying in business. You know, at my last job, I was in that job since I was 19 years old, and I pretty much worked my way up the chain as much as I could. And at, you know, the young age of 23, I was directing my own office, and that was kind of like the ceiling. I mean, you know, if I stayed in the job longer, I probably could have gotten some raises, some promotions, but when you're 23 and you kind of hit the ceiling in your job, it's like a little demotivating. So another big reason why I didn't want to go back to a job, is because I wanted to have control over my own financial freedom, and I wanted to be able to control my paycheck and my income and not have it be tied to someone's job description. So that's really what it is. It's, it's financial freedom. It's being able to be at home with my son and literally watch him, have his first, crawl for the first time, laugh for the first time, all that stuff I've been here for. So it's just so important to me, to be present in his life, and having a business lets me do that. So it's wicked awesome.
It's wicked awesome. I love that. So, Jesse, I have to admit that as your dad's revealing all these amazing things you guys were working on, I was a teeny bit jealous because one of the problems I've had, and one of the problems that many of the people that I work with is like either getting booked on shows or getting the right people to get booked on your shows and then creating the traffic and all the energy and the viral, excitement to watch the shows once they're created. And when I learned you were behind the scenes on that, I was a little jealous. So I'm really excited that you've created this whole business where you serve clients in this way. So tell me a little bit about how that came together, that you specialized in booking people onto your clients' podcasts.
So, well, I'll start just to give you a little behind the scenes of where my skills came from. So, in my last job, I was in nonprofit, and I was in the door-to-door fundraising industry. So, I came from a background of many, many years knowing how to knock on doors and be very short, simple, specific with someone and get them to write me a check. So, those are kind of the sales skills that I brought to my business. And it all started when my dad, when I'm his VA, and several months ago, he said, I want you to start booking me interviews. I really got to be on these podcasts and radio shows and getting out there, getting my message out. So I had a quick call with one of his other VAs who had been doing it, and I just heard from her kind of the sites that she was looking at, and I quickly found a communication strategy and different techniques of how to reach these show hosts. I came up with an email template of how to pitch my dad, and it's ever evolving because I figure out what resonates with show hosts. Show hosts want to know that their guest is going to help them promote the show. They want to know that their guest has actionable, valuable content. So as I go, I learn what they want to hear and what they want from a guest, and I add that into my pitch. So I just kind of come up with all these strategies of how to reach out to these hosts. And as I'm going, my dad has always coached me on, LLP, listen, learn, and profit. And so
Wait, say
as I'm
that
going,
again. That's such a great slogan. Say that one more time.
LLP, listen, learn, and profit.
Love that.
So I quote my dad a lot, so I'm not trying to take credit from all his coaching advice, but I'll say it here. So I've listened along the way when I'm emailing these podcast hosts. They said to me, well, who are you? I emailed them and I say, I'm representing Jim Palmer. He'd be a great guest. And as time went on, a lot of them started asking who I was personally and what I do. And I would tell them, I book him for shows. And so there was this growing interest in who I am as a connector, because as podcasts have gotten really popular in recent years, it's really only been show hosts and guests connecting directly. There really hasn't been this booker in between. There are publicity agencies and PR people, but that's not what I am. I'm specifically a connector for guests and hosts. So it's I'm just created this very niche business for very specific people, guests and hosts. And so that has really just gotten the attention of a lot of people. And I remember my dad was up visiting me a couple of months ago, and we were talking. We went for a walk to the bay, and we're like, there's an opportunity here because people are interested in what I'm doing. It's solving a problem, which is time. And so we came home from our walk. I went on GoDaddy. I got the URL for the domain name, interviewconnections.com, and just took it from there. So again, I was just listening to people as I was emailing them, and they were expressing their interest in what I was doing. I was hearing that they were constrained for time because a lot of time podcasting is really, it's this back end aspect to a business. It's bringing in new followers, but it's not necessarily generating a lot of profits immediately. So there was this need to have a time saver, because you can't have this, having a podcast, you don't want it to take up all your time because it's not generating revenue immediately. So Interview Connections is really saving time for a lot of these hosts.
So I heard a couple things actually, which moves into a little bit of strategy. When you're wanting to really get your name out and pop quickly in the industry, if you can build a system around something that people have a big problem on, and no one else is really in that space, or very few people have maxed out their visibility in that space, it is a prime opportunity. This is one of the optimization secrets, is find something that people have a problem with that you specialize in, build a system, and then conquer that niche. And it feels like that's what you're doing.
Right, right. Because if, like I said, a lot of times some people have said, "Oh, you're in PR," and I almost get confused because I'm not in PR. I'm not a public relations consultant. Because if I was, I would be in this mix of thousands of other agencies out there. So that would not be a business savvy move for me to do. Is say, "Oh, I'm another PR person," because
Mm-hmm.
nobody would know who the heck I was. But in Interview Connections, I really haven't found any other firm or company that's doing a specifically has a service as specific that I have. So,
And you
yeah.
don't do live speaking gigs. You do
No.
podcasts, which is a huge industry that's growing like crazy right now.
Right. And speaking gigs is something that people want help with, but I actually had a client who was interested in getting more speaking gigs and approached me about that because I was booking him for interviews. But my dad and my wonderful coach advised me against that because it's not an area that I could show results in. Because really, as a speaker, as you know, Melanie, you have to people have to know, like, and trust you, and it's very effective to have a booker like me come and schedule a guest on a podcast, but to actually have somebody come and be at your event, at your live event in person, that's a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't do that in a simple email or telephone call. So
Right.
that was not an avenue I went down because I didn't want to waste time on something that I wasn't going to be able to show results in.
I love that, and that's really it's a powerful place to be as a business owner, because when you know what your talents are and you stick with them and you don't keep going out like this and building all these tentacles out and distracting yourself, you're more profitable, you're more effective, and you're more productive for your clients. So this is brilliant. Um, so we've talked about the strategy of leverage, but you're also doing something else here. Not only are you leveraging time for your clients, but you're also leveraging your investment in building a database. And I think, again, around building systems and really picking something that you do well, there's a lot of value in knowing that you can bring like all of your research and leverage it more effectively when you build more clients, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something that I'm doing is building up that database of guests, building up that database of hosts. Because really, I mean, Interview Connections launched about 2 months ago. And I'm just so excited to think where I can be in 6 months, a year, years down the road when it's just this massive community of guests. I mean, I have people emailing me just saying, "Hey, this is my expertise. I'd love to be considered." And that just makes my job easier, and it makes my ability to show more results for my clients, that much better. So it's just, I'm very excited about the model because it's something that a lot of people are going to be able to use.
I love it. And my brain's already going into how you leverage that. How do you
Yeah.
build up your database and monetize that, right? There's
Exactly.
monetization potential everywhere here.
Oh yeah.
So, as a mom, as a woman who works from home, and as a newer business owner, what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges in this journey so far?
So I think honestly, I was thinking about this question, and the biggest challenge has really been just that I started a business with a newborn. I mean, who does that, right? Like
You were a
started.
little crazy, I have to admit. I was like, go girl, you are crazy, but go for it.
I mean, my husband is in nonprofit. I was in nonprofit, so we don't necessarily have this huge amount of capital that we're able to kind of coast on as I
Mhm.
start this, as I get this business up and going and making it very very profitable. But as the title of my dad's book goes, "Stop waiting." I just wasn't going to wait because honestly, if I had kept working in my previous job, again, I just would have had that steady paycheck and I would have had to just maintain that hour a day that I was putting into my business before I had my baby. So the biggest challenge has just been, growing the business with a baby that requires a lot of time and attention. And also, having the guts to know that I believe I am successful because as soon as I was able to work at home and have income, come through my PayPal account and come in and checks in the mail. As soon as I was able to do that, I feel like I've made it, but I know that there's so much, there's so much more to do and room to grow. But, another big challenge is just obviously just having a husband and a family that you're working to support. A lot of people have done like web TV episodes. My dad's talked about it, kind of like marriages and entrepreneurship, knowing like how much to communicate with your spouse about your actual business, and just kind of like balancing your work relationship, because my husband does the accounting for the business. So just communicating business expenses, like, oh, I have to spend this much money on my shopping cart and my merchant account. And it kind of seems in some ways like there's all this money going out the door, but how much is coming in? So the biggest challenge has just been like working through the mindset with my family, to get them on that entrepreneurial optimism that I feel like I have a lot. So it's kind of, I said a lot there, but it's really just having a family, building a business with a newborn and an infant is a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, I really admire you. I have to tell you, I say all the time, any woman who is a mother who is starting a business, I have ultimate respect for, because I didn't have children and I started a business and I know how hard it was. So hats off to you. I'm so proud of anyone who does that, and to make it work and to find that niche. And one of the things that I heard you say in all this is really that mindset piece. I think every entrepreneur, the biggest devil, the biggest, you know, um, gremlin that attacks their ability to create real long-term success is the mindset. And I'm just wondering, like, what did you learn along the way that was maybe a game changer for you that helped you maybe like, tackle those mindset issues or any other issues along the way?
Yeah, so I read a lot of books before I actually had my baby, when I was still working full time and I was starting my VA business. I was reading a lot of books. I read The Slight Edge, I read The Barefoot Executive, by Carrie Wilkerson. I read 3 Feet from Gold. Like, I read all these books to really educate myself, because obviously going into an industry, you have to really learn everything. And, I learned a lot of tactics in The Barefoot Executive, which were super helpful, but really the concept and kind of the game changer for me was 3 Feet from Gold. Just that whole concept of knowing, you never know when you're going to be 3 feet from gold. You never know when you're going to get that next client. You never know when things are really going to take off. And that has really stuck with me. I mean, there are so many success quotes and mantras and mindset tricks that I love and that I hear on podcasts and keep me going. But, 3 Feet from Gold is just really resonated with me, because my dad was my first client, because he really helped me get started. But when I actually landed my first client that wasn't related to me, was really, really an exciting moment for me. It was, things were getting tight. It was kind of that moment where me and my husband are kind of like, all right, are things going to start taking off soon, because savings is getting smaller and smaller, diapers are getting more expensive, that kind of feeling. And I just remember getting that email from my client that said, let's do this. And it was like, the most amazing feeling, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be paid to work at home and offer services and not have a job. I mean, it was just so amazing. And I just remember feeling like, wow, the day before I was feeling stressed out and not knowing if it was going to happen. And I had no idea that I was literally 3 feet from gold. I had no idea that that next day I would have a client that says, I'm going to take you on, on a private basis. So that is just, I just always think that. And now with Interview Connections, I can have actually people sign up on my website. It's not like a very, I don't have to have a long phone call with them and everything to get started. I get clients that sign up and I get that email that says you have a new order placed, and it's just the most exciting thing. So just knowing that you never know, an email could come in like right now when we're on this interview that says I have a new client. It's just, so I just keep believing that, and it works out.
So I love that story of the 3 feet from gold and not giving up because you can't see it right now, and knowing that if you keep working your process and if you keep moving the business forward and doing the right things, to me, optimization is all about doing the right things over and over and over again so that you start getting more exponential results rather than trying to like create new stuff. So the fact that you've niched, I think, is beautiful. The fact that you've been able to find something that is such a huge problem and solve that problem for people is it's going to be it's going to continue to grow and evolve for you. So you mentioned that there's a lot of stuff you've read, there's a lot of coaching advice you've had. Is there a particular quote or maybe a mantra that you have that when you were maybe like in your fear or feeling a little down that helps you stay connected to what's possible?
So there's this quote that I heard. I listen to Entrepreneur on Fire a lot. It's one of my favorite podcasts. And Vasavi Kumar was one of John's guests about a month ago. And I was listening to her interview on John's show when I was taking a walk. And her success quote was just do it or do it anyway. It was one of the two.
Mm.
And I really liked that because there's a lot of things that you have to do in business that may seem uncomfortable, but you don't have a boss that's telling you to do it. It's up to you to hold yourself accountable. And, I just tell myself, do it anyway. Just do it, do it anyway. And that really just keeps me going and just motivates me. I mean, that and the 3 feet from gold, those two things just really give me the kick in the pants that you really need as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to go back to, before we wrap up today, I want to go back to something that we started to talk about, which is, all the learning that you had when you were calling these different people, calling these different hosts that you've been able to synthesize. What would you say if somebody is wanting to be a guest on more shows? What's a piece of advice you could give them, whether they become your client or not, right? Like, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be wanting to get some help here. But, in your booking for your clients and when you learned what other hosts are looking for, what's a piece of advice you could give someone that would help them be more attractive to the host of a show?
Be specific with what you can offer. Um, there are like a million marketing experts out there. It's not specific enough. I mean, what kind of marketing? Social media marketing, online marketing, local marketing. I mean, when I have people that say, I'm a marketing expert, you can book me. I'm like, I'm sorry, everyone's a marketer. That's just too general. So you just really know what your expertise is and be very specific about it. Actually, what is your expertise? My dad, it's newsletter marketing, but it's really client retention. So it's just like in business, when you want to niche down to the type of service or product you
Hmm.
have and the type of customer base, you have to do that with what you can offer in an interview. So be very specific. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we can all talk about the entrepreneurial journey. We can all talk about motivation, inspiration. That's great and wonderful, but that, you're just one of many people that can do that. So you want to be one of the only people that can talk about a very specific area of expertise. So that's just really my one big tip, is just to know exactly what your area of expertise is, be very specific with it. So just don't pitch yourself as a marketing expert, because everyone is. What kind of expert are you?
And so let's take that idea of specificity down a little bit more. When someone has to be specific, do you mean like have a one sheet where you have a
Okay, yeah,
particular talk? I just want to like give a real example of
sure.
this that someone could walk away and really know how do they get on Jessica's radar to get booked for her client
Yeah.
shows.
So having a one sheet is great. What mine looks like and what I, have for my clients is, a bio, a specific intro that the person can read. So a bio and an intro could be very similar, but the bio is going to be a little bit longer,
Hmm.
and then an interview intro, something that they could actually read at the top of the show. And then on that one sheet, kind of having contact information, your website, where they can find you on social media. Because when you pitch yourself as a guest, you want to, you're pitching yourself. So if you've been interviewed before, you want to give them links so they can kind of audition you as a guest. You
Right.
could be an expert, but if you're very boring and have low energy, you're not going to be the most attractive person to have on a radio show. So if you've been interviewed before, showing where they can find replays. So Pinterest is a really great place to just kind of collate all of your interviews and your replays. And also having some interview topics and potential questions they can ask you is, again, a huge time saver. That's one of the things that I offer with Interview Connections, is I tell my clients that I'll get those questions for you, because it takes a lot of time to prepare them. As a guest, if you have them all set to go, here are questions that you can ask me, you're just going to really take a lot of weight off of everyone's shoulders, make it a lot easier to book you as a guest. So again, questions, interview topics, an interview intro, and a bio and contact information are the things that you want to have on that one sheet, and it's going to make you very attractive as a guest.
Beautiful. That's a great tip and a great strategy that will help people who want to get booked more more, know
Yes.
exactly what that host is looking for to get to the yes. Because again, if you have a show, you start getting pitched a lot, and all of a sudden you've got an onslaught of people. How do you stand out? Just, I love this. Be specific. Tell them what's a unique topic that will fit. And, I would actually throw out there, and when we've done this in the past, is do a little research, find out what kind of things they're talking about.
Right.
And maybe like, hey, I love that show you did on so and
Yes.
so. I have a topic that might really fit into, and like treat this person a little bit, like a human
Exactly.
being who has a problem you're going to help them solve.
I find the most success when I actually personalize my email. Look, I mean, you don't have to listen to 5 episodes and take 5 hours, but again, you want to know if they've interviewed people that point that out. Oh, hey, like we have some people in common, really personalize yourself,
Hmm.
and really point out what's in it for them. I have, 17,000 Facebook fans, and I'll make sure I promote the interview to my list. So little things like that make yourself stand out.
Love it. So what's coming up next for Jessica and Interview Connections?
So what's coming up next? I mean, right now, my clients are my podcast hosts, and I'm booking guests for their shows. And what's coming up next is the opportunity to be my client as a guest and have me book you on other shows. So
Mm.
stay tuned. In the next month or so, there's going to be an awesome package that you can sign up for, and start getting
Pick me.
booked.
Pick me.
Yeah, totally. And there's going to be an interview process. I want to make sure that I'm working with people that, again, like I said, have some really great information to offer. So, working with me, I'm really going to be pitching you to some amazing people, and to those podcast hosts out there, just know that I have guests that are awesome, have amazing, actionable content to share. So,
I love it. Thank you, Jessica, so much. And I'm so glad your vice president cooperated and allowed himself to go down for a nap
oh my
so that you
gosh.
could stay with the process. Let's just give a big shout out to Nathan. Thanks, Nathan.
Yes, I will let him know that everyone says hello.
Yes. Tell him we're very grateful that he was ready to have a nap. All
Me
right,
too.
Jessica, thanks so much. And hey, thank you for watching today. And we love hearing from you. What did you like about today's show? What did you learn from Jessica? Is there something you can put into action? Share it in the comments below. Let us know what's really resonating for you. And these are great concepts and ideas that you could put into action. Sometimes you're going to have a strategy or tip, and sometimes it's just learning, hey, you're not alone. There are other people going through exactly what you are. What can you just take away from today that inspires you and challenges you to not give up, because that 3 feet of gold, or that gold is 3 feet away, right? All right, Jessica, thanks again, and bye, everyone.